episode 6 of the Fact Trekkers podcast.
We are the Fact Trekkers duo, me being the dad, Steve.
And me being Ben, the son.
Here on our show, in case you didn't know, which you probably do, as this is the 6th episode, we share fascinating facts on all sorts of subjects.
Our show is broken into a few different segments, including the Fact Off, where you throw out totally random but totally cool and totally true bits of information.
Then, in the main event, we go in-depth on 3 topics, helping you learn more about each subject.
In 2 Facts and a Fake, we share 2 more fascinating facts and 1 total fiction that we make up hoping to fool you.
Don't worry, all will be revealed at the end of the show, so you'll be left with all the facts.
And in fact, I think our savvy audience probably gets it by now. So, should we get into it?
Let's do it. It's time for the Fact Off.
Okay, my first fact for today. As recently as the Mesozoic era, the time of the dinosaurs, there were active volcanoes on the moon.
Cool. Okay, mine. Contrary to popular misconception, you cannot see the Great Wall of China from space with the naked eye. In fact, with the exception of massive cities, you can't really see anything man-made from space without magnification.
Interesting. The femur is both the longest and the strongest bone in the human body. It's located in the thigh, between the pelvis and the knee.
Winds on the planet Neptune can blow at speeds faster than 1,200 miles per hour.
Wow, that's fast. Central Park in New York City is nearly 6 times larger than the entire country of Monaco, a nation nestled between France and the Mediterranean Sea.
That is a small country. What's not small is Mount Rushmore. But Mount Rushmore was originally going to feature the bodies of the 4 presidents depicted there: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln, depicted from left to right. It was going to show them down to their waists, but it was later decided to leave it with just the heads you can see today in Pennington County, South Dakota.
Wow, that would have been interesting. Anyway, I think we should move from Mount Rushmore, something huge and gray, to something small and gray. And lots of other colors, too.
Ah, yes. Let's move to the main event.
Here in the main event, we go into much greater depth on several topics, sharing enough fun and interesting facts to help you really learn about each of the 3 topics.
And as Ben hinted, our first topic is small, often gray, and always charming. We're talking about squirrels.
There are over 280 known species of squirrels on the planet, including the classic eastern gray squirrel, flying squirrels, prairie dogs, marmots, chipmunks, and more.
Squirrels in the order Rodentia, with animals like mice and rats, and the family Sciuridae. The largest squirrel in the world is the Indian giant squirrel, which can grow to more than 3 feet in length.
Of course, about 2/3 of that length is this multicolored squirrel's huge bushy tail. Still, 3 feet long? That's nuts.
Was that a corny joke? Anyway, the African pygmy squirrel is the smallest squirrel known to exist, and usually measures just about 5 inches in length and weighs well under an ounce.
Squirrels are such good climbers due to their sharp hooked claws, strong hind legs, flexible joints, and an extra long middle digit on their paws, which provides extra grip, allowing them to easily scale trees and other surfaces, even climbing head first down, thanks to their rotating ankle joints.
Excellent foragers, squirrels can find food in snow up to a foot deep, and they can destroy our yard in a single night, especially after we've just laid down fresh sod or new grass seed. They are lucky they're so cute.
Flying squirrels, of which there are about 50 species, can glide as far as 300 feet in the right conditions, though most soar only about 20 or 30 feet on a typical jump.
And while of course they're called flying squirrels, bats are the only mammal that can truly fly. Flying squirrels are actually just gliding.
So they're kind of like falling squirrels, just doing it gracefully.
You could say that, sure. Which makes me think of something that usually falls with a lot less grace. A tree.
Well, that is the next main event topic, so let's leave squirrels behind and branch out into trees.
If you thought there were a lot of squirrel species, get this. There are about 73,000 known species of trees on Earth, and scientists estimate that up to 9,000 tree species have yet to be identified.
Here's an even wilder number. There are apparently 3.04 trillion trees on our planet at any given moment.
And for some perspective, there are more trees on our little planet than there are stars in the entire Milky Way galaxy. Like, a lot more. As in there are between 100 and 400 billion stars in our galaxy. So either way, it's not even close.
The oldest tree on the planet is called Methuselah, and it's a Great Basin bristlecone pine growing somewhere in California's White Mountains. It is estimated to be just over 4,850 years old.
That means it is about 200 years older than the oldest Egyptian pyramids, the Step Pyramid of Djoser, which was built in about the year 2630 BCE.
The tallest tree in the world is named Hyperion, and it's a coast redwood tree growing in Northern California. It's about 380 feet tall.
And the biggest tree in the world, General Sherman, is a sequoia growing in California's Sequoia National Park.
That makes sense. Wait, didn't you and Mommy visit that tree?
Yep, and it is truly amazing. Seems like all the most notable trees are in California, right?
Well, lots of them, but not all of the most notable, to be sure. An aspen clone in Utah consists of 40,000 trees all connected by one root system. These trees are all genetically identical, and so effectively one organism.
Also, there's a tree in Iran, the cypress of Abarca, that's only a few hundred years younger than Methuselah, and there may well be much older trees elsewhere on Earth, too.
You know what's interesting?
All our many fascinating facts.
Yeah, that's true, but also, speaking of old trees, it turns out that the first use of paper for writing is likely the same age as Methuselah and the cypress of Abarca.
Right, and let's pivot to paper now. As Ben hinted, the oldest known use of paper dates back more than 5,000 years. It wasn't paper derived from wood like we use, but rather sheets of papyrus, derived, fittingly, from the papyrus plant.
Ancient Egyptians learned to make sheets of papyrus paper by slicing the papyrus plant lengthwise and then laying many strips side by side. A second layer of papyrus strips were laid across the first layer. Then, the two layers were then pounded together into a flat pulp and left to dry in the hot sun.
Other ancient civilizations also began to use parchment for writing, parchment being made from the untanned hides of animals that have been skinned, usually goats or sheep.
Gross.
Yeah, but it was a useful, durable medium for writing, and it was commonly used in ancient Greece.
In ancient China, however, common mediums for writing were strips of bamboo, or wood, or silk cloth. But then, around the turn of the Common Era, some 2,000 years ago, the Chinese developed a material that would come to be known as paper.
This early paper was made from various cloth fibers, not from wood pulp, as we use today.
Well, ideally we used recycled paper to make paper these days.
Very true, but hundreds and even thousands of years ago, paper recycling was common, as was using rags made from hemp, linen, and cotton to create paper.
Paper made from wood pulp and produced on an industrial scale took off in the early 1800s, and paper was finally made abundant and affordable enough to be widely distributed. Books became more common, as did affordable writing materials like mass-produced pencils.
Today, the world produces about 440 million tons of paper every year, with about 93 million tons of that paper being used for writing, drawing, or printing. The rest is used for things like cardboard boxes.
In the United States, we recycle about 2/3 of all the paper we use in a given year, which is pretty good, but not great. I wish we could get it closer to a 90% or even better.
That would be better. Maybe in time. But hey, now it's time we move on.
Time for the final segment?
Yep, here comes 2 facts and a fake.
In this final segment, we're going to share 2 more fascinating facts and 1 not so fascinating fake fact.
We'll clear it up at the end, don't worry. And to share the first fact, in fact, let's grab my daughter.
And my sister.
Yep, and your sister. Scarlett, kick it off.
Number 1.
The national animal of Scotland is the unicorn.
Number 2.
Limes float in water, but lemons sink.
Number 3.
Almost 90% of the world's population lives in the northern hemisphere.
Okay, that's 2 facts and a fake. Which one do you folks think is the fake one?
We'll tell you soon enough. But quickly, just want to say thanks for listening.
We hope you found some of our facts pretty cool and interesting.
Or all of them. What stood out to you this time, Ben?
Well, I love squirrels, so all of those facts were great. I'd love to see that massive Indian giant squirrel. Maybe I can hug one someday. What about you, Dad?
I just think it's so funny picturing the presidents on Mount Rushmore with bodies, so yeah, I think that's mine.
Not to rush things more, but should we reveal the truth?
Yeah, let's do it. We can't leave people hanging.
The national animal of Scotland is the unicorn.
Almost 90% of the world's population lives in the northern hemisphere.
Limes float in water, but lemons sink. Funny enough, we reversed it. Limes actually sink, while lemons float, due to their lighter density.
Hope no one's puckering their lips because of the trick.
Yup, no sour feelings, I hope.
Whether or not we fooled you, we appreciate you.
And we'll be back again soon with another episode of Fact Trekkers.